That white jersey was pretty green by the end of the night. Ben Roethlisberger has been the fixture at quarterback. Just watching this one early on, Pittsburgh continuing a trend they'd love to stop. They've got a turnover in 11 consecutive games, longest active streak in the NFL. Deontay Johnson, after the catch, drops it. It's not like Smith-Schuster's an old head in the league, but he's talking to the youngsters saying, you'll be all right. Big Ben offering some advice as well. Bengals leading 3-0 in the second. James Conner awfully involved in the passing game. And Rudolph, Jalen Samuels, running backs awfully involved in the passing game. The clever play design here. Get the man in motion. Rudolph rolling right. Shovel pass, no. Finds Conner out there in space. DB's got his back turned around, and Conner goes 21 for the touchdown. Roethlisberger digging it. Rudolph 17 of 18, 132 yards in the first half. 111 of those yards came after the catch. Defensively, as has been established, that Steeler defense showed out. Devin Bush on the blitz. Rookie gets the quarterback. Then it's Bud Dupree with the strip and the sack. TJ Watt pounces on it. 8 sacks in this one, tied for the most in the last 15 seasons. The Wildcat was something the Steelers used quite a bit of. Jalen Samuels, that counts as a completed pass. If you got him in fantasy, you're getting some passing yards there. And then it's Conner, who had been injured on the same drive, or at least apparently so, and none the worse for wear. He's running with fury. This time Samuels fakes the toss, takes it in for the touchdown. 10 rushes, 26 yards, 8 receptions, 57 yards, 3 for 3 passing, 31 yards. Filling up the stat sheet. Steelers leading, and they weren't going to look back on this night. All right, dumping it off all night. Let's dial up the long ball. Rudolph to Deontay Johnson, wide open for the touchdown pass. Second in as many games for him. Smith-Schuster celebrates. I told you, young fella. You stay in the fight. The Steelers win it by a score of 27-3. A look at Rudolph's performance this season so far, and it's just a couple of games, small sample size, but he's averaged throwing the ball 3.3 yards downfield, which is the lowest average by any quarterback since ESPN began tracking the stat in 2006. However, Rudolph is one of 6 quarterbacks who have multiple touchdown passes on throws at least 20 yards downfield since week 2. So he hasn't done it much, but when he has, it's worked out quite well. This despite the fact that he's only thrown 7 of those passes over that time. Short ones have helped set up those timely deep strikes tonight, and it paid off well. Following this hit Sunday in Oakland's 7-point win over the Colts in Indianapolis, Vontaze Burfict has been suspended by the NFL for the remainder of the year. Lowered his head, took several steps in the direction of Jack Doyle. Helmet-to-helmet contact. And there are many who are applauding the NFL's move here, including Colts head coach Frank Reich, who said of the decision, when someone does something like that and attacks one of your players, that's just not supposed to be in the game. And then when it's against one of your players, you naturally have a reaction. I'm just glad they did what they did at the game, and the follow-up action seems very appropriate. Meanwhile, Jack Doyle, who was on the receiving end of the hit, said, I just got tackled. I'm sure it looked worse than it was. Now, maybe I'm on an island here, and I have a feeling that might be the case, but I don't see this particular hit as warranting a season-long suspension. Burfict, who never does himself any favors, didn't as he left the field smiling and blowing kisses after he was kicked out of the game for the hit. In my opinion, there was a much more horrifying hit Sunday when Donovan Smith obliterated Marcus Peters as he crossed the goal line in Los Angeles. Peters was evaluated immediately for a concussion. Smith wasn't even flagged. But it is clear from John Runyon's explanation from the NFL that Burfict's past is the reason for the harshest ever penalty for an on-field event. Quoting the letter, your extensive history of rules violations is factored into this decision regarding accountability measures. Burfict was in England with Oakland for the Raiders game this week, but he has returned home and is appealing the suspension. Bears quarterback Mitch Trubisky is going to London. Pardon me. He's unlikely to play after an MRI revealed a dislocated left shoulder. Slight labrum tear as well. But as Adam Schefter reported, he does not need surgery and should return, quote, sooner rather than later. News was worse for the Broncos and Bradley Chubb after their 4th loss in as many games. Denver announced that what their coach Vic Fangio called a huge loss. Chubb is the 5th pick in the 2018 draft. He's lost for the season, partially torn ACL. Fangio called Chubb a tempo setter, a great person, and a great leader. Chubb actually played Sunday after injuring the knee. Fangio said Chubb was as surprised as anyone to discover the injury was this impactful. Ryan Clark alongside. We're 4 weeks in, which I think is a decent enough sample size to have enough data for some thoughts. And in the AFC, we've got Kansas City and New England, both 4-0. They met in the AFC title game a year ago. Is it a foregone conclusion that it's a collision course again?
Yes, this is a collision course, and it's not even like the one we thought before the college football season started, where it was Clemson and Alabama. I think it's even more possible than that is. When you look at what the New England Patriots have done this season from a defensive perspective, this is probably the best defense they've had since 03-04 when they were winning games with Tom Brady being a game manager. And offensively, Tom Brady has done enough with the weapons that he has to make sure this team continues to move the ball, and they also can run it with that bevy of backs that they have in the backfield. We watched Kansas City have to go and battle against the Detroit Lions this weekend, but they were able to just do enough offensively to win. Defensively, they do scare me, Scott. I do feel like teams can score on them, and outside, they need to get better. They should be making the text down to Jacksonville to Jalen Ramsey saying, hey, big head, what you doing? You up. And so if you can get a guy like that on your team, it totally changes what you do. But from an offensive perspective, this team is the Harlem Globetrotters, and they are playing the Washington Generals on most weeks. This team is going to be tough to beat down the stretch. I expect to see these two playing that last week in the AFC Championship.
Chiefs waiting to see if they get that ...
Right, you know what I'm saying?
Go ahead. What do you got? Let me see that answer. All right, what's the answer to this? Best team in the NFC is?
I mean, do you just want me to go NFC, or do you want me to go the entire NFL? Because it's the same team, and that's the New Orleans Saints. The New Orleans Saints, listen, you lose Drew Brees. And if you say you're going to lose Drew Brees and Teddy Bridgewater is going to be your starter, and you're going to have to go to Seattle and win the game, you're going to have to play the Dallas Cowboys on prime time on Sunday night, you're expecting that team goes 0-2 in those games, and you try to pick it up as Drew Brees gets near the comeback. No, this team rallied on defense, scored points on special teams. They are showing that they are a complete team. And now you look at the same defense, this same total team with Sean Payton calling plays and Drew Brees, the future Hall of Famer, back in the saddle. This team was maybe the best team in the league last year, if not for a bad pass interference call that was missed, a non-call. And now watching them play this year, they have it rolling and they have it going in a way that when Drew Brees gets back, this will be the team to beat in the league to me.
It is interesting. Seattle and Dallas each have one loss, and it was given to them by the Teddy Bridgewater-led Saints. That defense was nasty on Sunday night for certain.
Yes, sir.
It feels like the entire NFL, or most of it anyway, is 2-2, but they're actually 13 2-2 teams. If I ask you to tell me one 2-2 team who you really believe is good and will demonstrate that from now till the end, who is that?
It's the Philadelphia Eagles. You can't tell me you were watching the game on Thursday night and watching Carson Wentz deal going, you know what, this team stinks. I don't want to watch them play. Any team that plays against them understands the pedigree and the championship pedigree of this team. They're a little weak outside at the corner. That's the one position that scares me. But offensively, they can do it all. Miles Sanders is a difference maker. They figured out how to use Jordan Howard. And Carson Wentz is a guy we really respected, Louis Riddick, expected to win the MVP this year. And we saw some of that talent on Thursday night. Going down the stretch, I expect this team to challenge in the NFC East and be a team that we're looking to in the playoffs that could make a run like we seen them do 2 years ago.
Short week at Lambeau. You still don't have all hands